okay? There were some people who said, well, you'll never fill Radio City Music Hall because it's about writers and it's about books and people want to see One Direction and Justin Bieber and all that, that stuff. And, I'm saying like, fuck you, we'll fill it up. We'll fill it up. He said, will you come out and do a bit in the show? And I said, I don't think so. It's all the way to California. And he said, I'll put you on a big-ass Harley. And I said, I'm there. I wrote a book called Gerald's Game. Pretty nasty piece of work. Without going into too many of the details, this woman ends up handcuffed to bedposts and her husband drops dead of a heart attack. They're playing a game, which happens to be Gerald's Game, and she's like that. She said to me, okay, you wrote a book with 2 characters in a cabin, and now you're going to write this book about this woman who is alone in a bedroom. The next book you write is going to be called Living Room Couch. And it's going to have no characters at all. I haven't gotten to that one yet. But anyway, a great movie with Daniel Radcliffe. Good movie. Lock and Key, some other stuff. So, I'm only a little jealous. He's young and good looking. But I take comfort in the fact that he will get old. And said, what in God's name are you doing? And Joe said, oh, it's some of Dad's shit. But here's the thing. He couldn't do it. So I said, well, I'm fucked. Basically took a glass. I'm spoiling this for you, but, I don't care. Little girl lost in the woods praying for Chris Christie to save her. And he shows up, man. He shows up and says, yeah, shut the fuck up, little girl. Shut up and sit down, little girl. If I were Wayne Newton, I would say, let's all sing Happy Birthday to Jennifer, but on the other hand, let's not. Norman Is That You was really funny, and the audience was rocking and rolling and everything. And I leaned over to my wife and said, what's coming next is a film about a little skinny white girl with menstrual problems. And this audience is gonna fucking hate it. Girls are pelting Carrie with sanitary napkins, and people in this theater are yelling, kill those bitches, and stuff. All through the movie, behind my wife and me, there were these 2 guys that were the size of NFL players, They were these great big broad-shouldered strapping guys, and that arm comes out of the grave, and they scream like a couple of little girls, and they're hugging each other, and I hear one of them saying, that's it, that girl ain't never gonna be right. I'll just choke the fucker. The first thing he does is write the last line. And I thought to myself, Jesus Christ, that's like eating the frosting off your cake and then eating your cake. To me, I didn't see it. But he knows everything that's going to happen. And I know, really, fuck all what's going to happen. The first woman was married to this guy. She caught the woman who was applying for a job in McDonald's in bed with her husband. She got wicked pissed. I was working this letter over in my mind. It's a really nasty piece of work, But the thing was, what made it nasty, this thing's all tied down. Come on. Jesus Christ, what fun is that? Who's sitting in his house, and he gets this letter about 6 months after he's retired, and the only thing he's done is watch daytime TV, like Judge Judy and Dr. Phil. I mean, that would drive me to suicide right there. So, oh yeah, you laugh like you never fucking watched those shows, right? We're all too good for that, aren't we? That's right. A lot of times when people come to see me, they want to see if I'm really fucked up. And you know, the funniest thing about the 50 Shades, how many of you read it? Be honest. Come on, raise your hands. Not very many of you.
Tyler, Tyler, you read it?
Yeah. Same way, Tyler, you rock with your bad self right there. There's an honest man. The best parts of the 50 Shades of Grey book that I read was I thought the sex scenes were really good. And then somebody told me that in book 2 or book 3, there's a scene that involves a jet ski and a butt plug. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going there, man. That sounds like really uncomfortable.
This one has a bobbling thumb.
It's great. I can think of some things I can do with this. On a jet ski. On a jet ski. And he approaches me and he says, "Are you somebody?" And I said, "Well, everybody's somebody." He said, "Yeah, but are you somebody famous?" And I went kind of like, "Well, you know, sort of." He said, "Are you Francis Ford Coppola?" And I said, "Yes, I am." My wife and I have a place in Florida. We didn't really want to go, but we turned 65 and it's the law. I was in there one day and I was in the housewares aisle and this woman came around the corner. She was in one of the, the things, they have these electric carts for people that don't have really good mobility. I'm always afraid one's going to stroke out and the thing's going to go all maximum overdrive, crash into everything. But she was almost a Florida stereotype. She had the golf tan, she's about 140 years old, and the golf shirt. And she looked at me, and then she looked away, and then she looked back, and she said, "I know who you are. You're Stephen King. You make all those scary movies." Well, some people like those, but I don't care for movies like that. I like uplifting things like that Shawshank Redemption. And I was flabbergasted, man. And I said, "I wrote that." And she said, "No, you didn't." Heading up to New York and getting on a Delta flight. And for the first time, this is a magical moment for a writer. There are writers out there in the audience, you know what I'm talking about. I saw a woman that I didn't know reading my book. She was reading Carrie. She was reading a paperback, copy of Carrie. So I said to myself, I said, "Self, you're going to walk up to this lady and say, 'How do you like that book?' And when she says, 'I love it,' I'm going to say, 'I wrote it and I will sign it for you.'" Going to make her day. You should never do that. You should never do that. So I walked up to the lady and I said, "How do you like that book?" And she said, "I think." And I said, "Okay." Well, I said, "Oh, thank you very much for your opinion." I said, "I won't be buying that one," which was true because I had like 50 copies sitting at home. And this guy looks at me and he says, "Hey, bud, you want to make $10? And I said, "What?" And he said, "You change my tire, I'll give you $10. Said, "If you change it in 15 minutes, my wife and I have got to go to this thing and I can't get my dinner jacket dirty. If you can do it in 15 minutes, I'll give you 20. And I mean, the guy's got like, the Rolex watch and he's got the thing around his neck, the gold chain and everything, the hair's all combed up. And so I said, "Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. 15 minutes, huh?" And I said, "You got a jack and a spare and everything?" Yeah. He says, "I got all that stuff." So he opens the trunk. The car is running. His wife is sitting inside in the passenger seat. It's Naples, Florida. It's like 90 degrees. She's wearing a fur coat. That's why she's sitting in the car. The air conditioning is going. I said, well, look, the flat's on this side. Maybe your wife would like to get out. It might be better while I jack it up. Looks in, speaks to her. She's going, no way. So I jacked up the car, and I got the tire off. My wife's rolling her eyes like, Jesus Christ. And this guy is like tapping me on the shoulder and going like this with his watch, you know, like, hurry it up, son. So I get the spare on, and I tighten the lug nuts and put on the hubcap, and my wife grabs me and says, you're not really going to take that money, are you? And I said, you're right, I am. I said, this is the first honest work I've done in 20 years.
Florida with my teenage son, and of course, didn't have devices then and so on. And I said, well, how about a book? I've got some Stephen King books. And he said, no, I don't think I want to read that.
No, you don't want to read that. So, and listen, you know, being up here scares the out of me. Okay, that's a lot of people. I'm a guy who does my best work in a room all by myself. Of course, I'm also a guy who does his best work in a room with somebody else, but... Well, okay, let me explain this, all right?
I can't believe you hating
know,
Halloween. It's like Bing Crosby saying, Christmas
died,
sucks. Yeah.
Right?
You know?
Sterling died.
What?
Karloff is gone. Lugosi, I'm left. I've become America's Great Pumpkin now. We used to have the house open on Halloween, you know, and the trick-or-treaters would come, and then thousands of them started to come, and so we haven't done, you know, I have a tendency to go away, but my dream is to set up like fog machines on the lawn and then put like an electronic grid underneath the front walk, about 20,000 volts. Get him up there, yank that lever. Crispy critters, you know?
You're a monster.
They taste great. No.
Oh, my God.
You don't think I'd ever really do it, do you?
Oh, no, not you.